Good morning. Hello. Welcome to our June customer training session. As always, we're going to just wait a couple minutes before we dive into the goodness so that everyone has a chance to log in. A couple housekeeping items. If this is your first BombBomb customer webinar, welcome. There's two boxes that I want you to be aware of at the bottom of your screen. The first one is the chat window. So go ahead and open up that chat window, say hello to us, let us know where you're joining us from. But I want to make you aware of when you open up the chat window, the 2 is going to be set default to panelists. If you want to just talk to the panelists, you can. If you want to communicate with your other attendees, just change it to panelists and attendees. Say hello. Oh, we got tons of people here logging in. Welcome, welcome. If you are watching the chat window, you can see how quickly that scrolls when we have several hundred people on here. So important questions should go in the Q&A box. If you have questions that you want myself or our panelists to answer at the end when we do Q&A, you want to make sure you put them in that Q&A box so they don't get lost in that chat window. And then I have Michelle and Aaron, they're going to be hanging out in chat and in the Q&A. They're going to answer some questions as we go along. If your question hasn't been answered, it might be that we're going to answer it at the end, okay? So be nice to Michelle and Aaron for me. Be patient with them. It's a lot to manage. Right now, we already have almost 500 people in, and we're only 2 minutes off the top of the hour. So we're still going to just hang out for another minute while we let people log in. I'm going to launch a poll. I'm based here in Colorado. I know Stu is in Colorado as well. And we really like the outdoors and camping in the mountains here. So I'm just curious, for those of you that are joining us today, how do you prefer to enjoy the outdoors? Are you a camping person? Are you more of a glamping person? Or are you the kind of person that says, the only way that I enjoy the outdoors is from the balcony of a hotel room? Oh man, we have a very tight neck and neck competition here before camping and glamping. All right, guys, we're at about 60% voted. So I'm going to end the poll and we're going to jump in. We're at 3 minutes off the top of the hour. So we have a tie. 35% of you are campers, 35% of you are glampers, and 30% of you say only from the balcony of your hotel room. I love it. Well, we're going to jump into the good stuff today. Today's session topic is Video Prospecting 101, and I have 3 awesome panelists joining me. My name is Alicia. I'm the national speaker here at BombBomb, and this is going to be a great session because all 3 of my panelists are in completely different industries, and we're going to talk about what their prospecting looks like and how they're using video to humanize their communications and build better relationships. So we're just going to jump in. Melanie, I'm going to start with you. First off, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Why don't you
Happy to be here.
Thank you. Introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about your business, what you do.
So my name is Melanie Gallia. For the Americans on here, I live 12 hours north of the Montana border in Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada. And so I'm 8 hours north of the Rockies. So let's say the Canadian Rockies. I've been a real estate agent since 2007. And one of the very first opportunities I got started doing video in like 2013, it just exploded my business. So been doing real estate for a while. To all the Canadians out there, hello. Yeah, I'm excited to be here and share from a perspective of tell you about the hard parts, tell you about the easy parts, and just be real with you. So you can ask. I'm gonna be very real with you. So ask away, and don't be afraid to ask those questions because we are here to contribute.
Thank you. I know you're always sharing so much of your wisdom on social media just freely. I love that. So we're glad to have you. Stu, why don't you let us know a little bit, introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your business.
Well, hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Stu Davis. I'm the executive director for an organization based in Colorado Springs, Colorado, which admission up front is right down the street from BombBomb's office. And so we're neighbors, and I run a local organization that's a nonprofit working across the various sectors in our community, the business sector, the public sector, the for-profit community. Well, I already said that, the for-profit community and also the nonprofit community. So I work with a lot of churches, a lot of nonprofits, a lot of locally based businesses, and then with our local public sector leaders, both at the county and city level, to really try and drive collaboration around some of the social issues that we face here in Southern Colorado. So pleasure to be here. We use BombBomb all the time. They're one of our favorite local partners and one of my favorite tools that I use a lot.
Awesome. Well, we're glad you're here, Stu. All right, Keegan, round us out. Let us know who you are and tell us a little bit about your business.
Keegan Otter, I'm the head of revenue operations and revenue for a B2B SaaS platform company called Funnel IQ. We're basically analytics for RevOps folks breaking into that growing market. And I have a team of 9 reps, AEs, and SDRs that use video every day. And we use it along with our integrations with outreach. So we are video hungry people, and we get about 24% of our revenue pipeline generation from video alone.
Love it. Love to hear it. Well, that actually leads us perfectly into our next question that I'm going to have you kick off, Keegan. And because we have people from 3 different industries here, we have someone who's in real estate, we have someone who works in the nonprofit sector, and then someone who works in RevOps. So this is going to be a really interesting discussion. So, Keegan, why don't you kick us off and kind of really high level talk about what type of prospecting you're doing. We're going to dive more into strategy around how you're leveraging video, but just kind of kick us off. What does your prospecting look like? Who are you reaching out to? Is it one-to-one? Is it in mass? Is it cold leads? What does that prospecting process look like for you and your team?
So I would say it's about 90% cold, 10% warm, because we do own one of the largest online communities for RevOps folks. Even if we reach out to those warmer leads, we still use video to just put a face to the name for the introduction. But for the 90% outbound, we are usually just going cold outbound from LinkedIn, or we use something called Seamless, which we will look up through our ICP. And that consists of marketing ops, RevOps, sales operations, VPs of sales, COOs, and CFOs. So we do a lot of account-based selling. So we're targeting probably anywhere between, I tell my reps, at a minimum 3, max out to 5 of those titles per account. And every single one of them has to send a video because it's a step in a sequence.
Yeah, I love that. So your team is primarily doing cold outreach.
Yep. And the best way to do it is we're having them connect on LinkedIn, right? And then they send just a general evergreen, which is pre-recorded, like, hey, I'm Keegan. I nerd out about sales and RevOps on LinkedIn, would love to connect because I saw we're in the same industry. So they make their own generic connection video like that. They don't pitch like why they want to connect or anything. So that's a great way to kind of break through the noise, get a higher acceptance, and then boom, that video pops up right as they accept it in LinkedIn. And then on top of that, then they're going to email them, and then they have 2 ways to go. If it's a low-hanging title, right? Like, it's the revenue manager, but it's not the VP. I say use an evergreen video for that because you're going to use the personalized video for the VP.
Yeah.
And so they have made actual evergreen videos for every single title we reach out to. My reps have a library of about 10 evergreen videos. Yeah. On top of that, though, for those high target profiles and titles, they'll send a personalized video that's 35 seconds or less.
Yeah. I love that. So we're going to talk more about strategy in a couple minutes, but I do want to address something right here. And I even saw it pop into the chat there. Are you able to use video for LinkedIn in mail? And yes, this is one of the ways that when you're talking about cold outreach prospecting, if your sales team or if you specifically are prospecting with people on LinkedIn, even if you're originally not reaching out on LinkedIn, this is a great way to get someone's attention. And I do this all the time. Our Chrome extension is a really cool ad here because you can be in LinkedIn, and that Chrome extension up in your top right-hand corner will give you the option to just pop open that video recorder, record a real quick video, and then copy the link, popped it into that LinkedIn message, and it's even going to populate that video thumbnail. So, when we talk about process, I want to hear some thoughts from you about how your team is doing that as well. But yes, you can absolutely use video for prospecting on LinkedIn. So cold outreach. Melanie, Tell us a little bit about what your prospecting looks like, because I know as a real estate agent, you are getting clients from lots of different sources. So primarily, what does your prospecting look like? Are you responding to online leads? Are you doing, broader marketing? What does that look like? Oh, you're on mute.
It's a lot of those things. It's Facebook marketing, Instagram marketing, referrals, which is obviously my favorite. I tend to do a lot more one-on-one videos where I get to say their name and I get to say, hey, I'm a person, and have fun with the with the thumbnails. That's probably, making it kind of goofy, but I do like using some of the tactics of writing on a piece of paper or something like that, where you just say, hey, this really is me. I'm real. I'm live. And it's making that one-on-one connection with people. A lot of times people already know me when they're reaching out to me, a majority of the time. So the conversion rate is a little bit better and easier because people already know who I am. And so there's something, and I'm not sure if this is the right time to bring this up, but people talk about know, like, and trust and bridging that gap. So if you look at reverse engineering a sale, people have to trust you, right? But before that, they have to believe that you can solve their problems. I trust my dentist, but I'm not going to my dentist for heart surgery, right? So below that, they have to like you. And before that, they have to know who the heck you are. So there's that one piece. People talk know, like, and trust a lot. There's that one piece, right? Is showing them. It's not showing them that you can solve the problems that they have. And so, if I'm reaching out to a person, I'm communicating that I've heard them, that we've had this conversation. Oh, you want a house north of the bridge, you want a garage, you want those sorts of and hear yourself in your industry when I'm speaking. Don't just be like, oh, that wouldn't work for me. You don't know. So that's how I use video, just to solidify that one-on-one connection that I am the person for them. And the other thing that I like is it gets rid of the people that don't like me. I'm okay with that. I want to work with people that want to work with me. Not everybody, I got a big personality, right? And so not everybody likes that, right? Yeah. That like for introverts, I might not work for an introvert, right? Yeah. But for all the extroverts, but I have moments of being introverted myself. So I can find ways, but if I don't jam, it's okay. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah.
I love one of the things you said at the very beginning. You said that a lot of times when people are reaching out to you, they already know you. But I think it's really important to clarify, why do they already know you, Melanie?
I make a lot of videos.
Right?
I make a lot of videos, right? And I try to have a good mix of video of not just real estate, but some fun stuff. I did a reel on Instagram about tell me you're over 40 without telling me you're over 40. I'll go. I had, for all you millennials or these youngins, okay, so when I do a home inspection, I have to go and I open up the door and I'm like, okay, I'm Vanna White. I open the door and it's the home inspector's show. This young man was 23 years old. Is like, who's Wayne Wright? I'm like, Vanna White? Wheel of Fortune? Nothing. Home inspector was in tears. So.
I love it. All right. So I do see questions popping up in the chat about strategy. We're going to get into strategy in just a second, but I want to hear from Stu. So Keegan, his team is primarily doing cold outbound. Melanie is using it to solidify relationships when people start to reach out to her on the prospecting side. She's also doing a lot on social to build up that know before people reach out to her. But Stu, what does your prospecting look like? Because your role is different here. So who are you reaching out to? Are you doing this one-to-one? Are you doing it in mass?
Yeah, great questions. And frankly, I'd say both. So maybe to refer back to something that Keegan mentioned earlier, he's doing 90% cold, 10% warm. I'm probably doing 75% warm and maybe 25% cold. In nonprofit world, the majority of my communications is with our community partners and with our donors. Both current and prospective, but mostly with current donors. So one of the systems that we have set up is anytime that we receive a donation of a certain size at a certain tier in our organization, that gets flagged to me, and wherever I am, I can use it on the app on my phone, or I can use it right here on my desktop. I send a quick 15-second video to that donor just saying, I got this today. Thank you. It means a ton. And here's how we're going to put that to use. That's probably been one of our most effective engagement tools, is an immediate response from the executive director of the organization, sending something that's personal right to a donor in real time.
Yep.
But then we also use it for a lot of mass communication. Melanie mentioned a minute ago, but I mean, just yesterday, I used a piece of paper where I could just make sure that this group of folks know that I was talking directly to them that day. But then we also use it for our largest groups of, 75, 80, 100 organizations that we work with around the community to follow up on things that they've been a part of collectively. We build a lot around collaboration. Oftentimes we're maybe the tip of the spear, and so we're the ones that collect the story, and then we turn around and tell that story to the other partners that we've been involved with and say, you were involved in this is what happened, here's the story. And obviously the opportunity, either for myself or oftentimes me with somebody else sitting next to me, to tell a story live on video in less than 2 minutes is a really effective way for them and as co-partners in our community to get it in front of their constituents as well. So
Yep.
that ability to pass on the video and pass on the story in 90-second short form has been really effective.
I love it because obviously what you're doing is different than prospecting. Sorry guys, I have a fly that's dive bombing me. What you're doing is different than video prospecting in the sense of where you're not, reaching out to try and convince someone to give you their business. However, you are still having to build that know, like, and trust and maintain a relationship the same way that in a sales funnel, you have to, provide the value, which you're able to do with stories. You have to stay in front of people. And I love that. It's such a powerful way for a nonprofit to be able to maintain that face-to-face. Anyone who has ever done fundraising or worked for a nonprofit know how hard it is to, even though you might even have a really engaged group of audience that loves you, but when you start, asking for money and you start talking about campaigns, you need a way to maintain that excitement and to help them feel connected to you. And Stu gets to do that with video, which if you watched our deep dive, if you watched my video earlier this month, that BombBomb is giving away free accounts to nonprofits that are doing the work of rehumanizing the planet. We will talk more about this at the end. But if you came here today because of that email, because you're a nonprofit, we're going to make sure we give you the link at the end. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we'll talk about it more at the end, but this is something we're really excited about. So Stu, while I've got you here, before we move on the other, let's kind of get into the nitty gritty then. So video, what specifically, where in this process, you said you're using it to tell stories. Obviously, that's huge. Being able to send stories in mass out to your audience. What other ways are you implementing video into this process? Like, just, specifically, where do you implement video into this process to make sure that you're maintaining that know, like, and trust, that you're deepening the relationships?
Yeah, that's a great question. So obviously, prior to telling stories, you have to do the work. And for us, the way we're built, we do our work in partnership with organizations around the community. I've mentioned that before. So one of the ways that I use video quite a bit is when I find out about a specific need, perhaps in a geographic part of the city, that we have some momentum around, I can find out about a prospective partner who would be a good partner to have in, let's say we do a lot of work with education in local schools. So as we get involved in a local school and I find out about a business that's right around the corner, or a church that's raised their hand and said we want to be helpful, or a nonprofit that does work in that part of the community, I can reach out to them via video and just introduce myself and just say, hey, so-and-so told me that it would be good to reach out to you. I just wanted to see if you and I could connect, perhaps over the phone or on Zoom, to find out if we could talk about what's happening at a school that's right down the road. That simple video, now that's obviously like a prospecting thing, And that's been super helpful, again, for me to be able to be a known face. That whole know, like, and trust, what a great framework. Oftentimes we have a reputation in our community as being at least likable, if not trustworthy, because we deliver on our promises. And so to introduce myself in person, it just goes so much further than a simple phone call, let alone an email. To be able to make myself visible, to express myself with some facial expressions, try to smile and be warm, has been so helpful to winning new partners. But then circling back, the thing that I think that we do the best in how we use BombBomb is once that partnership has been established, I can circle back to that same group of people and just say, hey, just so you know, 3 months ago when we first started this conversation, we didn't know where this was going, but it's turned into so much more than we had dreamed. And I want you and your constituents, your congregation, your sales team at your business, those partners that were involved with your nonprofit, your donors, I want you guys to know how much we've been able to do together. And I just want to say thank you. And the ability to say thank you in person, especially if I'm walking down the sidewalk of a downtown, strip, or someplace that I'm out and about in the community, to stand there in front of a principal in their hallway and the two of us to say thank you from my phone is an enormous trust builder. So trust, both in the business world and the nonprofit world, trust is built when you deliver on promises. So when we can turn around and say, you guys have helped us deliver on promises, and I want you to play this video for your constituency, it gives them the opportunity to tell their employees, their congregation, their donors, hey, look at all we've been a part of, and look at this guy who's telling our story for us. And that's a huge trust builder.
I love that so much, especially, what you said about, being with a person and talking about the impact. That's, the mobile app. I just want to encourage those of you that are watching and are hearing some of these different ideas. One of the hurdles that I feel like people have to get over when they start doing this is their concern that it has to be static, right? In their office, professional looking, the right lighting, all of that. They need to have their external mic set up. And the truth is that this is about communicating in a more human way. So if I saw someone, asking specifically about insurance, for example. If you're selling insurance and you get, a notification that someone had stopped by your website or requesting more information, you don't need to go to your office and close the door and turn on your ring light and get all of your gear set up to record a video and say, hi, Tom, thank you so much for reaching out for more information. Be a human being, right? You've got your phone with you. If you are in your car and someone, is requesting information and you call them and you leave a voicemail because they didn't answer, record the video right there. You can say, hey, Tom, thank you so much. I just left you a voicemail. Would love to talk to you about some rates. So that mobile app is really a benefit to you because it gives you the ability to connect with people and build those relationships from anywhere.
I've used it when on hikes or on runs. If I go to the top of the mountain, I'm thinking of a prospect when I get to the top, a $35,000 deal. I said, I got to the top of the mountain. I live in Arizona, so you got to hike in the morning or you just don't do it. And I'm sending it at the very top. It's like a 3-mile hike. And I said, hey, I'm really, I worked out this morning, got to the top of the mountain. I'm thinking, when's the last time we've touched base on this, how we could solve these problems? Hope you're having a great morning because I know you said you hike too. So I wanted to send you this video. Literally got the meeting. That deal's going to close for end of quarter. And literally just from connecting, I remember they told me they hike. So when I was on the hike, it dawned on me, just whipped out the phone, sent it from my phone.
This is perfect, Keegan, because I love what you said. It's about connecting, which really, when we're talking about using video for prospecting, that's the benefit, right? Video is giving you the ability to connect. So let's talk more specifically then. You mentioned LinkedIn, which we talked about a little bit, but for you and for your team, where in your process are you using video? Obviously I get, that first initial touch. You said sometimes it's the pre-recorded, which is really valuable. For those of you that don't know, BombBomb lets you have an entire video library of pre-recorded videos that you can use over and over and over again, all accessible from the Chrome extension, from your Gmail or Outlook, from your mobile app, all of those videos at your disposal. But specifically, what are you using video for in that prospecting cycle?
Like the channels I'm putting it in?
Well, like, where are you reaching out? Obviously, first touches.
Yep.
It's huge. Where else are you inserting video? Where do you feel like this changes the process and the conversation?
Yeah, someone just asked actually, like, how many times do I have my reps and myself use video on one person? I'll use video up to 5 to 6 times on a person. I'm a little bit more aggressive than my reps. I tell them at least minimum 3. So there's that initial touch, right? Break through the noise, general connection. Then there's the reason of like, hey, I saw that people in your position usually face problems like et cetera, et cetera. We solve that by doing this. Would it be a horrible idea to meet? By the way, I'm Keegan from Funnel IQ, right? Like, I train the reps to send that 35 seconds or less. Now, if there's engagement, right, you can see it via BombBomb. We use Outreach, so we use those notifications, but I know BombBomb has it too, because it always lets me know in my Gmail if they've opened it or how long they've watched it. I then train the reps to go it back in and then bump it, whether it's like they're holding a whiteboard or the phone that says like any thoughts, or my famous one that's on the website of like the bumping my shoulders and then pointing up above, and literally the line right above the video is any thoughts on this, or did I completely miss the mark? And you literally get the people that are engaged being like, oh, I love the tenacity. They're knowing that I'm watching this video, and you about 9 out of 10 times you'll get a reply. And about 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10 will lead to a meeting.
I love that. You brought up something really important, which is the tracking. And I bet Melanie has some thoughts on this as well. But, I've spent many years now training sales professionals, and there's this resistance to leveraging the tracking because people are worried, like, yeah, but if I call them right after they watched my video, they're going to find that's weird. No, they won't. You realize that if I say something right now, like, I don't know, showerhead, 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 showerhead. When I go on Facebook, it's probably going to advertise a new showerhead to me. So we know that the world is different. Tracking email opens is not some big, like, secret revolutionary CIA technology. In all likelihood, the benefit of being able to speak to someone while they are thinking of you is going to outweigh any like, oh, that was kind of crazy, they just called me right after I watched their video. So I just want to encourage you, okay? I've heard lots of schools of thought on this. There's some people that are, their thought is, oh yeah, I was just thinking about you. I'm really big on honest and authenticity in the sales process. And if you want someone to trust you, there's nothing wrong with saying, yeah, I actually, use a service that lets me know when people are, watching my emails. I just saw that you played my video, and I, thought maybe you would have a second to chat now. There's nothing wrong with telling people your secret sauce. The question that you have to ask when you're talking about prospecting, the question you need to ask yourself is, do I want to speak to this person or not? And if you want to speak to them, your best chance of speaking to them is calling them when you know that they were just watching your video.
Here's a statistic for that.
Yes, please.
All we do is cold call. I mean, I came from a company that was very heavy on cold calling outreach. And so literally it's a layup when they open that video and you know that they've watched it. I train my reps, stop what you're doing, pick up the phone and dial. And you would be like, for example, I could be like, hey, Melanie, it's Keegan, the one that just sent you that video. And no, I'm catching a bad time, blah, 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 like dive into it, right? And like, or I'll be like, hey, saw you open my video, curious, was it the best thing you've seen, or do you want a refund of your movie ticket? And I literally do that, right? I'm calling out that they've seen it, and I have the data right here. 54% of our meetings usually come from cold call, and then 24 from video alone. Of those 54, where we're generating over 1 million in pipeline so far, 80% of those calls are following a video, and I have tracking on the calls. Our reps are referencing the video that the prospects interacted with the video. So there's a connection between sending a video and then following up with a call right after.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. All right, Melanie, let's talk specifics. What are you doing with video? You already mentioned that, once someone reaches out, you're using it to kind of deepen the relationship, but I know that video is all over your business. So how are you using BombBomb to build that know, like, and trust, and really, use it to build up your business?
I use it in a couple of ways. One of the things I really like is that, and this might sound sales pitchy, but it's not, because it's been a secret weapon of mine. So when COVID started, I was already starting to do this, where I'd have a video and we were locked down, right? So real estate was still open. So I like working smarter, not harder, right? So but I work smart and hard. So it's a good combination. So what I've been using as my virtual tours, and I got to come up with a better name, because it's like 5 keys to seeing a house, to like saying yes to the address, right? So each email in the BombBomb app itself, in the website, has a URL. I use that as a connection. So I can use that on Facebook. I use it on LinkedIn. I use, like, if you creep my LinkedIn, you're going to see some of those. And it's a link to my walkthrough tour, which is like a 2-minute tour. Then I do live open houses. I've been doing that since like 2017. Now it's cool. People are catching on. Open houses are done. Anyways, just saying. Because I golf on Saturday and Sundays. That's what I'm doing with my time, right? And so the other thing that I put in there is a link to the virtual tour, which is the 360 tour, the floor plans and the photos and the write-up. So the way that I was using it, and think about your business. Somebody's here in car sales. Throw pictures, throw a video of that sexy new vehicle, that big ass truck that just came on the lot, that you know that you have 5 customers for. Okay, this is your best friend. Buy this. Buy the DJ Osmo 3, not 4. 4 is shit. Buy 3. Buy 3. Remember I said I was going to be real with you? Okay, that is my best friend. Not selfie sticks. No. DJ Osmo. This here. Keegan, get off the wallet. Go get one. No, I'm just saying, yes. So it's a stabilizer. So I put my phone on it. I can do my selfies. I can walk around, right? Like it's super, super cool. But anyways, the reason that I'm so passionate about this, because, you know, during COVID, we were able to, you were able to send that. Like so your other prospects are sometimes your competitors, right? And so I was having second showings, and a great way to have that second showing was like, hey, Mr. Buyer's agent, I know you really don't want to go out again in COVID, but you had a really good first showing. Here, send this to your buyer, right? So that they can have their second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth showing of the property, especially since they've already seen it. So I did a tutorial. If maybe we can put a link in, figure your industry out and how you can make it work. How can you make it be inspired by what I'm doing here? I also did a tutorial on how to do live open houses. You don't have to do an open house, but you can have a showing of a car. You know, why is your insurance policy better than another? Keep it short. People want to save money and have more coverage, right? But I think the other way to make good video, and I'm going on a tangent here on you, but like, if you problem solve, there was a word Valerie Garcia came up with, and it's like problem storming. Okay. So what pain point storming or pain storming, I think was it, where you're figuring out all the problems that your customers have and answer those questions, right? That's how you become valuable. That's how you become a resource. That's how they know that you can solve their problems, right? So,
I'm so glad you touched on that. I'm so glad you touched on that, because, you know, something that you need to understand about video prospecting, or prospecting in general, if you're watching this and maybe you're new to actually doing prospecting, most sales, or whatever you call it, the commitment to the relationship, if you're talking about a real estate agent, or commitment to the cause, if you're talking about a nonprofit, it's the same. But most of these processes require 5 to 8 interactions before a person is willing to say yes. Now, some of those interactions may have happened before they picked up the phone to call you, because they may have gone to your website or to your social media. But the familiarity effect really has a huge effect on this. The familiarity effect is basically a social psychology term that means the more someone is exposed to a specific person, the easier it is for them to build the trust. So what Melanie is talking about is, you know, you don't only have to use video in your prospecting process for saying, you know, hey, Stu, thank you so much for reaching out. You can also use those pre-recorded videos in your library to provide value. What type of problems do you know that your customer has? It's important to know who your customer is, because then you can send those videos. Or what kind of value can you provide? For Stu, being able to send to a prospective client or another nonprofit in the city, a video of the work that they do, you're just building trust into that process.
So Alicia, I just threw into the chat an example of the virtual tour. So I do my virtual tour. I need a better name, right? Because it's more than just a virtual tour, right? But it's 5 ways to see a home. Grab that link there, okay? And because it's an easy way to see what I'm up to. I did create a tutorial on how the step-by-step on how I did it to set it up in BombBomb. But it's again, think outside of the box. How could you use this in your industry?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and again, to come back, we're talking about video prospecting 101 here. And I think we've touched on some really important elements here. Number one, the goal of the video is to provide you opportunities for connection, right? As you're talking about real estate or LinkedIn prospecting or nonprofit work, whatever it is. The first touch that you send should be about connection. It should be about connecting with that human being. And then, you can provide value along the way. But I think a really important thing to point out here about cold prospecting, and I think all of my panelists would agree with me, you need to be leveraging the video on the front end to build a relationship and not talk about how great you are. And I think this is a failure that I see people making, is they say, oh, I've got this great video talking about, our company and all of the great things we can do. And they're sending that out on the front end, and it burns relationships because you're not building the relationship. You're talking about yourself. Any thoughts from my panelists on that?
Less about me, more about you. Less about me, more about you, the prospect who I'm reaching out to. I tell my reps that if I hear more than I or our company more than 3 times, delete the video, do it again. And I do video audits for my team. So if you manage a team that's on video, you need to be doing video audits just like you do call audits. And that's why I think keeping it short, but really that's where I start with people saying, hey, reaching out because I saw you're this title, you may or may not have some of these problems. Here's how we solve it. And I show, give a teaser, right? That's the beauty of video, is you're seeing how you can actually solve it or how you can provide that value, and then just make it all about them. And then I really go with a light CTA of hey, if this was helpful or if you found this useful, would you be against learning more to discuss further? Not be you should meet with me because our company's top on LinkedIn for startups. They don't care about that. They want to know, okay, who's this person reaching out? What are they talking about? How does it affect me or benefit me?
Yeah. I love that.
I would just add to that. Keegan mentioned it or alluded to it, just how can I solve their problem? And it's not by the things that we've built, the tools that we have, the process that we have in place. It's just about listening to what that problem is. So I'm using that video to just say, hey, I heard about this thing that's happening in your neighborhood, or I know that, somebody told me that you guys are trying to figure this thing out. If I can help, I'd love to just grab a quick phone call, and that's it. So I'm not talking about me. I'm just saying, just tell me more about the problem. And if I can be helpful, let me know.
Yeah, if you were on last month's session, I was talking a lot about human-centered communication and what this means. And as a reminder for those of you that were here or for those of you that weren't, this idea of communicating as a human being, centering our humanity, it both is you getting the opportunity to communicate as a human being and not black text on a white screen. But video also gives you an opportunity to recognize their humanity, right? Just like Stu was saying, being able to say, I heard you had a problem. Or, for Melanie, working with, clients, being able to reach out with a video and say hey, I know that this can be an overwhelming process, thinking about selling your house in the days of COVID. So you have an incredible opportunity with video to acknowledge their humanity and communicate with empathy right in the beginning. Whereas typing that out in a plain text email, it's never going to have the same effect ever.
Alicia, I think there's one more point on that, and that I think when you offer a solution to a problem that they don't even realize that they have yet, I think that's next level magic sauce. And there's something to be said about when someone acknowledges that problem. And when you suck that concern, or you can suck that fear out of them, money makes people crazy, right? And so if you can find a way to show that you are hearing what they need as a human being, that connection and that level of trust is next level stuff.
You're right. You're 100% right, which is where I think, being able to leverage the power of yourself as the trusted advisor, right? You know what their problem is. If you don't know what their problem is, I would really recommend doing a deep dive on who your ideal client is, and building some customer profiles for the type of people you work with, so that you can provide that value right up front, and let them know that you have the solution, like Melanie said, to the problems that they haven't even thought of yet. Really good stuff there. So I want to make sure that we do have lots of time for questions. So I'm going to start to wrap up this section here in a little bit. If you've been holding on to your questions, make sure you throw them in the Q&A. But let's do, I want to know if anyone has any great success stories. No pressure, but if you have a success story that you want to share about, the way that you were able to get the deal or build the relationship, I'd love to hear it.
I'd love to share a story. So obviously we all know about this last year with the pandemic effects and the shutdown and all that kind of thing. The biggest, one of the most important times of year in nonprofit world is, at least here in the United States, is the last 8 weeks of the calendar year. There's just tons of fundraising activity that goes on. The majority of most nonprofits' revenue comes in those last 8 weeks. For so many organizations that were reliant on fundraising events of some kind, that was just totally killed this last year. And so we did our our entire year-end fundraising campaign was done through BombBomb videos. I'll mention that we did some of them just like this, where I recorded things right here at my computer. Some we did on the app, and then others we had pre-recorded videos that we uploaded to the BombBomb platform and then sent those videos out through the BombBomb platform, but it was pre-produced videos. But our entire year-end campaign was almost entirely video-based, and we had set a goal for our fundraising campaign. And essentially, long story short, is we ended up doubling our year-end fundraising goal almost entirely through video, the use of videos. Some were mass communications and storytelling, as I've mentioned before. Others were very, very specific follow-ups to one individual donor. Sometimes it was a donor that had contributed previously in the year to say, hey, just so you know, this fundraising campaign is live and we'd love to have your participation. And then once they would make a contribution, I would follow up with a personal video saying thank you. And then there were other things that were very specifically targeted videos to perhaps a group of partners, or maybe 3, 4, 5 people that were in a specific category of partnership with us. And so to be able to double our fundraising goal without having to hold a single event kept our overhead way down, frankly. The amount of time and planning and execution that go into those events is really heavy. So to minimize that and really focus on the power of the video and to do it well was just a great way for us as an organization to be set up for a successful 2021. So I reached out to BombBomb, to my friends there, and just said, hey, you guys did a great job. I'm so thankful. And that was just a great way for us to use our BombBomb tool to circle back to our BombBomb friends and say, your tool that you've put so much hard work into has helped set us up for a successful future. So that was a great way for us to just use the tool well.
I love that. We didn't even plan this, Stu, but this is the perfect opportunity for me to talk about our nonprofit initiative. And then we're going to take some questions. I want to make sure that everyone that's on has a chance to hear about this, because I know we do lose people during questions. So BombBomb, we're on a mission to both rehumanize the way people communicate, but that's secondary to our mission to rehumanize the planet. We believe very, very strongly in doing more with our time and with our money and with our business than just getting rich. And we are actively involved both in our local community and internationally in supporting organizations like Stu's that are doing the work to bring humanity back to people that have been dehumanized. It doesn't matter what the situation that happened, whether it was war or famine or houselessness or addiction, whatever it is. We look around and we see people all over the world that have had their humanity stripped from them. And we want to be a part of bringing humanity back to these people, of making sure that they know that they are valued and that they are loved and that their life means something. And so as BombBomb's mission to rehumanize the planet, we want to give free BombBomb accounts to nonprofits that are doing the work of rehumanizing people that have been dehumanized. So Michelle just threw the link into the chat there, but if you know of a nonprofit, if you're working with a nonprofit that is doing this work, click on the link, get them signed up, send them the link. We want to have a lot of nonprofits utilizing this. You just heard what Stu said about the way that they were able to double their fundraising goal almost primarily through video. So we're really, really passionate about this. Use that link, share it out, tell the nonprofits that you are working with about this opportunity, because we want to partner with them and make it easy for them to reach their fundraising goals and maintain those relationships. All right, I'm going to jump into questions. We've got quite a few questions in here, so let me just scroll through. I saw some questions about TikTok and Instagram, and I'll just answer these right out. And again, if you guys have specific questions for our panelists, throw them in there. We want to get your questions answered. But I know for Instagram specifically, and I believe TikTok is the same way, they don't like links. Instagram is not going to let you put a BombBomb video onto the Instagram platform. If you've noticed from Instagram, you can share from Instagram to Facebook. You cannot share from Facebook to Instagram because Instagram wants everything natively uploaded. I don't know for sure about TikTok if you can put a link into a DM, but you'd have to check. Keegan is saying yes.
Millennial here, you can do that.
Okay, there we go. You can, I guess, put a BombBomb video link into a TikTok DM. So that is an option there. Keegan talked about a video that he did with his shoulder shrug and then a point up with his finger and then something was written. How does he do that? Well, Keegan, I'll let you answer it, but I can share as well, but go ahead.
Known by the folks at BombBomb for some really out of the box evergreen video ideas to catch the attention. And one day I got tired of always making the bumps. I'll send about 50 emails a day when I was a AE and a SDR. And so I decided, I'm like, what's going to catch someone's attention? So I put on a Hawaiian shirt, right? Popping colors. And I just literally have it's a 4 or 5 second video where I'm just like, and I'm just pointing above, shrug the shoulder, or I have one where I'm shrugging. And literally just the text above is just like, any thoughts? So simple as that. And it's just like that little nudge. I tell my reps, it's the nudge that gets you one step closer to a yes or no.
So are you using Make It Big or a whiteboard for the text there?
There's one that I've used whiteboard. There's one where I'm not in the camera and I just pop in. And
okay.
So there's times to use a whiteboard or not a whiteboard, but I like the big text on the phone. Because it's kind of bright and my handwriting sucks. So I use the phone and I'll just be like, any thoughts? Yeah. Or just a question mark.
So I use the app Make It Big sometimes, okay? I also use a whiteboard. But what Keegan is talking about is we take the first 3 seconds of your video and we loop it. Yep, Melanie's got it there. Melanie does great thumbnails too. We take those first 3 seconds and we loop it. So again, when we're talking about prospecting, be creative, have some fun with those thumbnails. Some of the best open rates that our marketing team has gotten have been from a really unexpected, silly thumbnail. So the app that I use is Make It Big. That's for iPhone. You can also use a whiteboard, but use that 3 seconds to your advantage. Melanie, I have a question for you specifically. It's from a real estate agent, and she said, this is great. I'm in real estate and I love one-on-one interactions, but I have a bit of a harder time with video. Any suggestions for this real estate agent?
I love this question. And I have to come back to the Rehumanize conference and Angie got on stage and she said, I used to say this, just do it, just do it, just do it. It's not just doing it. You got to work through it. Your comfortableness with being on video. People are like, oh, you're a natural at it. I've been doing it for 9 years now, right? So when you go run a marathon, you don't leave the house and run 22 kilometers or 21. You don't run 21 miles, right? 42 kilometers if you're Canadian. And so you run around the block. You work your way up, right? Trust yourself though. Don't be like people. I think the perfectionists get stuck in, oh, it has to be perfect. No, it doesn't. Stop using that as an excuse. It's that connection. It's that connection that you want. That's what people want. So the very first opportunity that I take is like, hey, Alicia, we just connected. I love the conversation that we just had. I am honored that you chose me as your real estate agent. I am going to do everything that I can to help you find the right home. You want this neighborhood. You want this many bedrooms. We talked about that there'll be some paperwork, which I called my employment contract. I know in there it says I work my ass off. Well, how are you? But we can talk about the details when we meet later, right? They get to know you. They get to see you. They get to see a little bit of your personality, right? Make it short and sweet. It's just a connection of, I heard you and thank you for choosing me. You do those two things. Yeah, that right there is gold.
Melanie hit like on a really good point on that, right? Like the best advice I got from a fellow COO who he implemented BombBomb is I was having trouble with my reps, always sent like wanting to refilm it. It's not perfect. It's not perfect. He just made the best like analogies. Like, do you listen to your voicemails and then redo them each time you send them? I'm like, no, I'm just happy to get them done. So he's like, same thing with video. Do the video. Don't even watch it. Just send it.
Yeah. And as ladies, we get worried about our hair and our makeup and stuff like that. Oh, what if they don't like how I like? You don't walk around with a bag in your head. Could you imagine your dentist walking in with their bag on their head because they're worried about what someone thought they looked like, right? Like you're just like, and I'm being facetious, I'm being cheeky, but I'm just like, stop being so hard on yourself, please, for the perfectionists out there. I gained 30 pounds in the last 3 years, right? Like I'm still making videos. I get it. Yep. But the connection is more important.
Personal is better than perfect.
Bingo. Personal is better than perfect. And, we know that this is an issue. I've done a lot of sessions on this. We have sessions on our website. If you go to bombbomb.com/webinar, you can find some of our replay sessions on working through some of that uncomfortability of being on camera, because we all have it. We're all our own worst critics. Always, always, always. This is my actual job at this point, right? I'm recording videos constantly, and I still have to work through some of that uncomfortability from time to time. So know that you're not alone on this. Keegan, I had a question. Someone wanted to know, curious on cold calling, email versus LinkedIn. Which channel do you see a higher response rate?
The email. So I actually have it all broken down. I'm one of those, RevOps, right? It's all about the statistics behind everything. So 54% come from call of all of our pipeline generated to date. And that's following a video, maybe one or two. And then our second highest pipeline generation is video, cold video email, and then regular email, then LinkedIn with video. So LinkedIn's actually because LinkedIn's getting saturated. We can talk about that all day, but I tell people all the time, if you're sending a LinkedIn video, do not pitch. Just reference that you sent an email. Just reference that you're going to call them. Please do not pitch it over LinkedIn.
I would like to echo that as someone who gets pitched constantly on LinkedIn. Again, your first step is connection. It's not pitching. You have not earned the right to pitch to someone on a first touch, even if they reached out to you directly. Your job in your first video communication is to be a human being, to empathize and connect with them, and allow the relationship to grow from there. There's nothing worse than someone connecting with you and instantly trying to sell you. And it doesn't matter what industry you are in. No one wants to be sold immediately. Someone wanted to know average video length. I know that a lot of this changes depending on the type of video, but let's just talk first touch. Keegan, Melanie, Stu, any thoughts there?
I've tested it. And so you don't earn the right to send a minute video the first time, in my industry at least. I think this is actually very industry specific a little bit too. In my, I think a minute, I've tested it myself, and then versus just 35 seconds. And I've seen it on the receiving end now that I'm a decision maker that has a budget, right? And so what you want to do is you want to keep it short and sweet, 30 seconds or less eyes, more about you when you're talking to them. And then later on, after that bump, I call it the second round of the personalized video, or like step 12. So it's like the 5th or 6th email. My reps will then be queued up to send another personalized video. That's where you get the 45 seconds to a minute, because now we might be doing a little bit of show and tell, as Ethan says, with sharing our screen and kind of diving into maybe their website or their profile and kind of reading off some things where we think we can help. That's after I've already done 2 or 3 introduction videos.
Love that. Melanie, how long is usually your first video?
If I've made the connection already, it's probably a little bit longer, but I've made that connection already where I'm like going over the quick things, just confirming the next appointment. I'm just trying to show them that I heard them. And like I said, again, that opportunity to say thank you. So I just find for myself, shorter is better. And Alicia, I'm like you. Even though I'm a salesperson, I hate being sold to. I loathe it. I absolutely loathe it. So, but I'll tell you, some of the greatest salespeople that I am like champions for have, like, Vonnie Fast sells Cutco knives in Calgary. I am a diehard. Other people have tried to get me to buy knives from them. And I'm like, nope, Vonnie's my girl. Nope, Vonnie's my girl. Nope, Vonnie's my girl. And so just, earning that, right? Like just earning that is an honorable thing. So I'm not kidding. I literally tell people, like, we have to have a buyer agreement. And I tell people it's my employment contract. And it says, I work my ass off for you. So, it doesn't say that, but I say it says that. So,
I love it.
But it's just being personable, right? Like just be you. Don't be a fake you, because they're going to know.
Yeah.
They're gonna.
Well, and I think what you both said is really important when it comes to prospecting, is that you don't have the right to ask someone to play a 2 or 3 minute video in a first point of contact. You have to earn that by building into the relationship. And, yes, you can send someone a longer video if you have an established relationship and you are providing information that they want, but you have to earn the right to do that. You really do. I saw a question about outreach and tracking. I'll just answer.
I just replied.
There you go. Someone asked about if Keegan was using outreach for tracking or if there is a BombBomb add-on. BombBomb actually does tracking for you in real time, so that when people are opening your emails and playing your videos, if they've clicked on any links that you've included. So you can do that tracking directly from inside of BombBomb, or if you're adding your BombBomb videos to another, whether it's Salesforce or Outreach or something else that does tracking, they'll do that tracking for you.
Here's the pro for BombBomb with that is, like, BombBomb Outreach will just let you know if they've clicked on the link and opened it, right? But how far have they watched it? How many times have they watched it? That's where it's really crucial for BombBomb's analytics. And that's where I tell my reps, like, if you see that there's a couple clicks, go in and see how long they've watched it, how many times, because then you can call them out politely in the cold call to break through the ice.
Yeah, I love that. All right, well, we're 2 minutes from the top of the hour. If we didn't get to your question, my apologies. We only have so much time. Before we go here, any Stu, Melanie, Keegan, any last words that you want to give to our audience in regards to video before we wrap out?
Schedule it. Schedule time to do it. Schedule time to learn it. That is the magic. That right there is that's how it happens. That's how it happens. And make that time unmessable with. Video is the greatest gift I ever did for my business.
Love it. Stu, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just say the couple things that, and again, Keegan kind of hinted at it, the tracking, I use that all the time. I follow up with people who watch the videos. I follow up with people who don't watch the videos. Use the tracking tools because they really do help kind of narrow down that funnel. And then for me, I think, we're a small, lean organization. So frankly, like the integrations is not something that we kind of take advantage of just because of the leanness of our size. But the contact lists is something we have dozens of contact lists that I've been able to segment out in a bunch of different ways. And I use those all the time for as many as 200 people and as small as 3. So I use those contact lists all the time and it's super helpful.
Love it.
My 3 that I tell every rep, very quick bullet points. invest in a video library for follow-ups, evergreen follow-ups, right? To stand out and be diligent. 2, just record and send it. Don't overthink. And 3, personalization will always win.
Love it. That's a great wrap up, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. To our customers, thank you for joining us. Again, share that link with your nonprofits. We want to come alongside them as they do the work to rehumanize the planet. We want you to be a part of that as well. Thank you so much. We will always send out the replay. If you missed it, you came in late, you'll get the replay. Stu, Melanie, Keegan, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and experience with our Bomb family. Always a pleasure to have you here. See you guys. Have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, y'all.